Hey everyone, if you love combat sports such as UFC, kickboxing, BJJ, any combat sport in general, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience show. It's on all platforms. We're growing. We're back in 2023 with big shows. We're going to have conversations with fighters in both the amateur and the professional scene. And also just want to say thank you to my supporters in Kyokushin Boucherville, Karate Juan Fournier, and Moments Management. Wow. So today's episode's different. There's no guest. This is a solo podcast. I'm starting to do the fight breakdowns following the AC radio model, where it's time to give my thoughts on certain stuff since I've been told I know my stuff. So the first one, it's not going to be perfect, but here we are. So January looks quiet. We have some events. UFC came back with Imamov versus Strickland, who fought Imamov on 5 days' notice after Gastelum pulled out. Next week, we have the first UFC pay-per-view of 2023, UFC 283, the first return to Rio de Janeiro and Brazil since 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. Pretty good card, I got to say. We got, for the co-main, the quadrilogy of Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. You could put those two fighting 99 times, and one of them's going to win every time. It's the modern day Apollo Creed versus Rocky Balboa. And then in the main event, we have Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill versus Glover Teixeira, the former UFC light heavyweight champ, before losing it to Yuri Prohaska in the 2022 Fight of the Year at UFC 275. So here's my breakdown. When it comes to UFC 283, let's talk about the co-main, big Figueiredo versus Moreno. Wow. Let's go with the storyline here. These two have been going back and forth. The first time they met ended in a draw. The second time they met, Moreno came through. The third time they met, Figueiredo won. And it could have been argued that Moreno did enough to win. So in the quadrilogy, my question is, who's going to take it? And what kind of Davison Figueiredo is going to show up? Is it going to be one that was distracted, had weight cut issues, or is it going to be the one that was able to do what he did to Moreno last year to take the belt back? What kind of Moreno is going to show up? Is it going to be a Moreno that's a bit distracted because of having to change camps with the James Krause issue? Or are we going to get the Brandon Moreno that showed up, disciplined, ready, and took out Figueiredo as if it was easy man's work back in June of 2021? My honest bet is I have Moreno winning. Why do I say that? You look at the past history, Figueiredo has had issues making weight at 125. He's a natural 135er. I'm not saying Moreno wins it easy, but I'm going to say Moreno wins it with a decision win. Split. That is the Drewsperience's pick for the co-main of UFC 283. Moving to the main event. Ooh, this is a good one. So the light heavyweight division has been it used to be the Jon Jones division before Jon vacated the title in 2020 to finally make the move to heavyweight. And we'll get to Jon Jones soon. You stay tuned. Stay tuned. As I said, this is a breakdown, but also some MMA news too, because boy, do we got some goodies for you. But to take it back to the main event, this is an interesting because Yuri Prohaska was supposed to defend the belt back in December, but then Yuri had what was called arguably the worst shoulder injury that the UFC has ever seen in a fighter, and they gave a vacant title shot to Magomed Ankalaev and then Jan Blachowicz, which ended in a draw, and where they didn't do much. So then, you know what? They said, hey, we got our main event for 283 in Rio de Janeiro. Let's give it to the legend and former light heavyweight champ, Glover Teixeira. But then let's give a shot to another young guy that's been very active, Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. Very, very excited about this. This is Glover's last hurrah, because if Glover wins, guaranteed he's going to retire and to walk away into the sunset, winning in your home country, the light heavyweight belt. Wow, what a way to end a fantastic career. Glover's been there with the who's who. He's had struggles. He persevered. This is what makes him arguably a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. And when it comes to Jamal Hill came up on the scene from the Dana White Contender Series. He had a few knockouts. We thought, is this guy ready to take the next level? Had his shoulder separated by Paul the Bear Jew Craig back in 2021. But then Jamal came back. He started rebounding, getting some wins, having some knockouts. He took out Thiago Marreta Santos, basically handing him his walking papers to go now into PFL. And Jamal Hill's coming in with a lot of momentum. He's an underdog. No one's giving this guy a shot. And I think that's a mistake, because I understand Glover's is the wily veteran, but Jamal Hill has that power, and maybe he's got some wrestling up his sleeve. He's never switched teams. He said on the record, I've stuck with my same team through and through. And that says something, because fighters, they like to change camps, get a different perspective. If something doesn't go right, maybe they feel they're missing something. But I like this. I really like this main event. And my mind says Glover takes it and retires, but my heart says Jamal Hill takes it. So I want to go with my heart here. I could be wrong, but hey, that's what predictions are for, when you give your 2 cents in this sport. So I'm going to go with Jamal Hill, knockout, TKO, 4th round. You heard it here from the Drewsperience. So that's what my prediction is for UFC 283, with the main event for Jamal Hill and the co-main, which is going to be a split decision for Moreno. And then Davison makes the announcement that he goes up to 135. Bold prediction, but that's what I love about doing these podcasts. You give your opinion. All right. So now we move on to the news, and woo, oh boy, hot diggity. Did we get some goodies last night with what's going on in the news? First of all, some big news. The former middleweight champion of Bellator, Gegard Mousasi, makes his return on his quest to reclaim win number 50, and then possibly fight the winner of Tokov and Eblin, fighting the current UFC welterweight champion's brother, Leon Edwards' brother, who's in Bellator middleweight, Fabian Edwards. And this is an interesting matchup with the storyline here. Why? Because Bellator looks at UFC and says, hey, Leon's a champion. What if we can make his brother Fabian a champion? Fabian has had a pretty good run. I believe he's been 2-2, 3-2, based on my research, where he's won 2, lost 2. And I love this matchup for Gegard. This is such a great matchup to come back after losing the belt to Johnny Eblin, because with a win by Gegard, he puts himself in there as the next contender to get that shot. It took a while. Obviously, there's politics. We don't know what happened, but all I can say is this. You give Gegard Mousasi a striker, not only a striker, but one of the best in the division, with a potential shot at getting that title shot back, you're getting a motivated Gegard Mousasi. And as for Fabian Edwards, I'm not counting him out. This is a very good fighter. You know, he's now probably learned a few things from his brother's win in the UFC, after his brother took out arguably the pound for pound best, Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare Usman. So what's Fabian thinking? What is Fabian going to ask his brother? What kind of game plan is Fabian going to have for Gegard? Because this isn't a typical standing and banging matchup. Everyone seems to forget Gegard is a complete mixed martial artist. So the storyline going in is Fabian, too, has fought one of Gegard's teammates, and that was Costello, the Spaniard Vance Dennis, a friend of the show, former guest, always comes on. And at the time, Costello was the number 3 to 4 ranked number 2. Costello, don't hate me for it. I'm sorry if I got it wrong, but you were up there. But Costello was up there in the number 3 rankings or so. He was in the top 3, and he fought Fabian to a split decision. So now, you on that side, you probably have Gegard asking Costello, what do you remember? How can you help me prepare? So there's going to be a lot of strategy in this fight. I'm very excited for it. It's going to be on May 12th, and I cannot wait to see what Gegard Mousasi looks like in his return, because here's my prediction. Now I'm going to go on air with it. Gegard I think Fabian is a very tough matchup. You don't know really how to prepare for him. Because he's a very unorthodox striker. But I think Gegard has the IQ and the tools to get the win. Gegard gets the win, and then Gegard gets the career win 50 with that, and then makes a bold announcement. So I'm going to say it here. Now, remember, this is just my opinion. Okay? So don't come at me before you start coming at me saying, oh, you're wrong. This is my prediction of what happens. Gegard Mousasi will get career win 50 and then make the announcement, you know what? I want something bigger. I want those big money. I want those big checks and all the smoke, and go up to 205 to fight Vadim Nemkov, the current light heavyweight champion. That is going to be such a barn burner. And with that, he says to Costello, you know what, Costello? This is your division now. What if I can be the light heavyweight king in 205, and you can go from being the squire to the knight to the king. You couldn't have scripted it better. I mean, they should hire me for these kind of storylines, because that's what I think is going to happen, where Gegard gets the win by unanimous decision, gets win 50, goes to light heavyweight to fight for the belt. You heard it here. And then Costello will get some more fights in this year. And then he will be fighting for the belt. And you will have a new middleweight champion in Bellator hailing out of the Netherlands. And that will be Costello, the Spaniard, Vance Dennis. I'm very high on him. And I believe this guy has the talent and the potential to be a champion. And other news now, because look, I want to get the Bellator out of the way, because I have a soft spot for my Dutch contingent that have been very supportive. I just want to say thank you to them. You guys have been, from Champs Talk, Peter the Archangel Boost, Costello, Joey, Bert, Gino, everyone in the Netherlands. I really appreciate the support. That's why I got to mention you guys first, because I don't want to be you to think I forgot. But you got to move on to the next news, the biggest news. Whew. Oh, man, I thought this was a joke. I thought I was being trolled on the internet when I saw it. A poster leaked at the T-Mobile Arena, and that T-Mobile worker I don't know if it was ignorance, if it was naivety, but it showed the poster of Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. And we all thought, what's going on here? Because we all knew the rumors were going to be Jon Jones's return to heavyweight would be fighting for Francis the Predator Ngannou. But at the same time, we were also hearing that negotiations were stalling. One side was ready, one side wasn't. And then it comes out that Francis Ngannou did not accept the last offer, decided to forego free agency, had the title stripped, and is now a free man to pursue wherever he goes. And I'm very intrigued by this matchup, by Gane versus Jon Jones, because the funny thing is, not many people know this, but in 2018, when I was with my friends Mo of Chick Fighting Fitness and another friend of ours, Kevin Pelletier, we went to a TKO event and saw Cyril Gane make his North American debut. It's pretty crazy that we're now watching him fight arguably the greatest of all time in mixed martial arts. I'm excited for this matchup. This is a great, great return matchup for Jon. I think it's better than Francis, because Francis has the knockout power, but Cyril is such a puzzle. Cyril Bongamen Gane is such a puzzle to solve. And there's so, now the Jones haters are going to the Cyril camp and saying, oh, this is where Jon meets his match. But you know what? I think you got to look at it also that Jon can win this match too. Jon's wrestling is next level. It's not NCAA or Olympian, but it's MMA wrestling level. And that grip, when that hand, that 84.5-inch reach tags you and grabs you, you're in for a whole world of chaos. So I'm really excited for it. My prediction is on March 4th, I got Jon Bones Jones claiming the heavyweight title, and all the haters can silence themselves after, because I'm going to be, I told you so. I'm a Jon Jones fan. I get flack for it. He's not perfect for outside the cage, but you know what? I like wild fighters. That's what makes them likable. Jon Jones is a wild man, and you don't get to where you are without being a little wild in the head. And Jon, as I said, when we take it back to the light heavyweight division, Jon's fought the who's who. He fought Shogun Rua in his first championship fight, then fought Rampage, then he fought Lyoto, then he fought former teammate Rashad, then he fought Vitor Belfort, then he fought Chael, then Gustafsson, then Glover, and now Glover's going to be fighting for that belt. And amongst the DC wars with the Gustafsson rematch, and arguably Jon may have not looked like the Jon we saw in the earlier years, but I think Jon comes back motivated. this is not a typical Jon Jones. This is a new Jon Jones weighing 260. He's had time to train. He's had time to get used to that body frame. He's had time to walk around in that weight. So I am very intrigued to see. And here's the bigger thing. What has he done with Henry Cejudo? Who Henry Cejudo said that it's been a very big honor to coach a guy like Jon, and Jon has also praised Cejudo for the coaching. It's so intriguing of what March has. And honestly, the UFC is better when Jon Jones is back and fighting consistently. New 8-fight deal. Let's see what happens. Because if Jon claims this heavyweight title, you cannot deny the fact that he is the GOAT. He is going to be in your Mount Rushmore, whether you like it or not. Every DC fan that has told me off, that has told my friends off who are Jones fans, saying we're crazy and this and that, just wait a second. Wait a second. Let's cool our jets here. Because if Jon wins, you're going to have to eat all those words. So that's why I got Jon Jones by decision, unanimous, not a split, unanimous, 10-8 on March 4th. As for Francis Ngannou, this is a tough one because Francis, it's been obviously on record that Francis has had a very tough time with getting a negotiations down, the injury, wanting to box, and then the UFC saying no. So I understand both points here, but Francis could have made a ton of money fighting Jon Jones. I think this pay-per-view could have been way bigger than Khabib and Conor. It's crazy because think of it. The heavyweight champion who represents Africa, who represents France, that's a very, very prestigious title to hold. And now you're walking away from it. And maybe Francis thought he was doing something to show other fighters that there are other options out there. But the question I have is, how is Francis going to be when he comes back from that surgery? We know he had a massive knee surgery. We know that there's ring rust. So let's be realistic here. He goes into boxing. What kind of fights is he going to get? How is he going to fare? Because we've seen this classic tale. To quote AC Radio, it's basically, we just don't know what's going to happen. And it's shown that when you jump in from one sport to another, you don't have consistent success. So Francis, he could go to PFL, he could go to Bellator, he could go to ONE, go into boxing, but if he starts losing fights, his career is over. And at the end of the day, the UFC saves its own image because they're going to basically tell us, well, look, it was evident, the evidence is on the wall, as the saying goes, or I don't know, I'm butchering it here, but the evidence shows that maybe he wasn't going to be as dominant if he came back. So overall, the UFC gets rid of something that was gets rid of a problem that was holding up the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division moves along now. And with Jon coming back, there's so many matchups. If Cyril wins, there's so many matchups too. I'm excited. Heavyweight division is back on fire where it belongs. It moves along. The other divisions move along. It is sad that the African King era of Ngannou, Adesanya, and Usman is over, but there's so much to like. 2022 was the year of upsets. 2023 is going to be the year of triumph, maybe, or maybe even more upsets. We don't know. We just started, and Sean Strickland beat Imamov, who was supposed to be Imamov is one of the best prospects coming into middleweight, and Sean Strickland made easy work of him, even if it was on 5 days' notice. Imamov is not an easy fight. So wow. So that's what I have to say. Other news, other than that, I'm excited for what 2023 holds in MMA. These breakdown shows are going to be happening whenever it's a big event in PFL, Bellator, UFC. Right now, I just want to start with the biggest news, and I'm excited. I want to thank all my guests that have tuned in, all my friends that have supported me on going this route so I could give my 2 cents, because you've seen me do conversations. But now it's time you hear you hear my views. Maybe you not like them, but that's how it is. It's subjective. Everything is subjective, and I welcome the fact that I could be seen as a bit controversial. But hey, that's how it works. So just remember, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button when you're looking at the Drewsperience. We're on all platforms. Thank you to all my supporters. And remember, if you're looking to take up martial arts, I always recommend Kyokushin Karate as a great if you want to get into stand-up. Yes, there's grappling too, but I'm a striker. So remember, check out Kyokushin Boucherville, Karate Joanne Fournier if you're looking to take up martial arts. Great way to get back in shape as the new year's here and we all got some weight to lose. I know I got some weight to lose, and I know I trust them in helping me become the person I want to be inside and outside of the dojo. All right, guys, have a great one. Looking forward to the next breakdown video when it's time.